Hey all, this is Software Focus, and today we're going back to basics with Camtasia. You don't want to miss this. Today's episode will be focused on how to use behaviors available within Camtasia during editing. Behaviors add a little splash of animation or design to your video. They can be applied to pretty much any piece of media, and for demonstration purposes I'm going to pull just a call-out annotation onto the canvas so we can demonstrate. Alright, so we have our call-out on the canvas. We want to add a behavior to it. We'll go over to behaviors on the left side, and then we get various options here. The behaviors that come with Camtasia are drifting, explode, fade, fly in, jump and fall, pop-up, pulsating, reveal, scale, shifting, and sliding. And you'll notice if you place your cursor over the behavior you want to see, it'll give you a little visual demonstration of what happens. So like with explode, you see all the letters come in. And now, admittedly, this can be a little misdirecting because like with this, with the explode specifically, it looks like it would affect every letter. It can if you use the text annotation, and I'll show that here in a minute. But a lot of users, just without full knowledge, apply the behavior and then question why it doesn't work. So to apply a behavior, you can click and drag down onto the item you want it to be applied to, and you'll see it disappears because it has three different sections of how it comes in, what happens while it stays on screen, and then what happens when it goes out. So if I play this, you'll see what I'm talking about. So it kind of flew in, it just kind of stays there, and then it flies out. Now, like I mentioned, that affected the entire thing. If I wanted each individual letter to be affected, I would need to use one of the text-only annotations. And I'll pull one of those on screen to demonstrate that as well. So we have our text-only annotation, and I'll apply the explode behavior to it, and this time I'm actually going to click and drag it onto the item on the canvas rather than down on the timeline, and you'll see it disappears again because it's going to enter. And so if I play it back, you'll see that each letter was affected, and when it goes out, the same will occur. So with that, you'll notice on the right side in the properties pane there will be a new section specifically for behaviors, and this affects the one that's selected. So right now we have the text only annotation selected, and so we have the explode base behavior, and we get three different sections: in, during, and out. The options under each one are very similar. For in, we get a style, so implode is all the letters individually coming in, but if we change it to drifting and play back the timeline, you'll see they kind of just swept in. Now, drifting has an extra option for direction, so it by default will pull from the bottom, but we can have it fly in from the right. And so if we play this back, you'll see the difference that made. Yeah, it came in from the right. Under type, we can have it address it like a full object. So this would be like how the call out came in. So everything's is one piece. Or we can do text, and then we get the options of first letter to last, last letter to first, a random mix, all letters at the same time, and it goes down through with different options here. But this affects how each text element gets affected by the movement. For drifting movement, we can adjust how it comes in, so it's an ease in. If we change this to bounce, we'll see what happens there. And it kind of swings in, but it bounces a little bit when it stops. And with bounce, you have a adjustment to how much it will bounce, in a sense. You'll notice that as you go through these, there are more different options appear because each type has slightly different properties that can be changed. Because like if I go back to ease in, then it's speed, and this affects how quickly it just comes into screen. Nice and quick. So I do, with all these, I recommend playing with what's up here. I go through a generalization of what's available. There's a lot of different settings and different combinations that can be set here, but play with it. You'll figure it out, and you'll find out what fits your style. Under the During tab, this affects what happens to the object or text while it, after it's come in but before it leaves. So by default, the explode has nothing, but we can change it so it jumps. And if we play it back, you'll see what happens. So we have our come in, and then the letters kind of jump and before it leaves. And then of course, like I mentioned with in, you get a whole bunch of different settings for the options you choose. So like with jump, we can adjust how the text behaves. We can affect it like a whole object, and so in this case, the entire all the text is affected at the same time. You have the option of first to last, last to first, what basically was available under in. And then you have all the options here to adjust a little finer what you want to happen. Then finally with out, kind of similar to in, you adjust how the text or object goes out. By, again, under explode, we're exploding out. But if I do a shrink and play it, see our bounce for during, and then just kind of shrinks out of sight. And then of course, like with the in and during, you have various options to adjust how the text or how the object behaves going out. There is one final way to add behaviors to an object. If you select it either on the canvas or in the timeline, you can go up to behaviors and right click on one you want, and there's an add to selected media option, and that will add it to that object. You can also add multiple behaviors on top of each other. So like this one, we have the explode and fade, so it's a little hard to see, but as it comes in, kind of fades in a little bit. I would recommend keeping behaviors more to a minimum. Behaviors can be very system intensive, and your editing performance may degrade the more behaviors you add either to a singular object or to your entire timeline. One final thing, with Camtasia you can add favorites, and we customize this we customize this explode quite a bit, so it's quite a bit different from what we had. But if we wanted to keep this, we can hit this little plus sign here to add a preset. We can give it a name, and now we have a new option here, which is all those settings we adjusted saved for easy access next time. Very useful if you make multiple projects and you want to apply the same behavior to multiple things. And then of course there's also the star for favorites, which I'll address in another video. And that about covers it for behaviors. This has been Software Focus. If you like this video, hit that like button, or click subscribe to join the channel for future videos. If you have any feedback or ideas for future videos, please leave a comment down below. Keep focusing!